Active Wall Street firms are buying more Tilray stock. We saw Hudson Bay come in and buy 16 million shares over the past quarter. That's an active U.S. firm. So this active U.S. firm is now the new number one shareholder for Tilray. So it's good to see that these active Wall Street firms are buying more of the stock. And then Millennium Management, which is a large hedge fund, another active name, is now the number two shareholder after buying up about 11 million shares. So the top two shareholders in the stock have increased their positions in Tilray. And it's worth noting that Susquehanna here increased their call positions by about 20%. Also saw Morgan Stanley increase their holdings. Citadel increased their holdings. So with that being said, though, let's talk about some of the other Wall Street firms that are buying this stock. So we saw that first off, BlackRock did sell somewhat. And then we saw State Street increase exposure by 22%. We saw Point72 Asset Management, which is another U.S. hedge fund, come in and buy 1.7 million shares. What I'll do in this video is I'll go over the Wall Street buyers. I'll go over the Wall Street firms that are short this stock. I'll go over some Wall Street analyst ratings. I'll cover the financials and compare and contrast the financials to the peers. And at the end of the video, I will give you a price prediction for Tilray. So you know the buyers, they're pretty notable. And then it's also worth noting the short sellers in the stock. So Susquehanna here is the number one short seller in the stock. So they're short about 3.8 million shares, but they also own 8 million shares. So they're actually a net bull, believe it or not. And then Citadel is the second largest short seller here in this stock. So Citadel and Susquehanna are the two largest short sellers in the stock. Unfortunately, they increased their short positions over the quarter. Citadel increased their shorts by about 37%. Susquehanna increased their shorts by about 71%. So that's really the notable short sellers for this stock. And then with that being said, let's take a look at short interest in general for Tilray here. So about 16.5% of the float is sold short. Also, we see about 7 days to cover, which for those that don't know, that basically means that it takes 7 days of average volume to cover the shares that are sold short. Typically, when we're looking for a short squeeze, we look for a number of over 10. So we're about 70% of the way there. So not a screaming shortcation there, but we're definitely closer than not. And then we can also look that Fintel ranks out this company as within the top 1,500 stocks in terms of short squeeze likelihood. So within the top, 40, 30% of the market in terms of short squeeze likelihood. And then let's take a look at the Wall Street analyst ratings here. So we can see here that there are three bullish companies for Tilray. So three bullish Wall Street firms for Tilray. And then there are two bearish firms. So this is somewhat of a battleground stock. There's a wide variance of opinions in the research community on Wall Street. So interesting there. And then with that being said, though, let's take a look at the financials for Tilray. So right now, we can see that the company has a price to book ratio of 0.40. For those that don't know, that's basically just means that the market cap is actually below its book value. Book value being the assets that it has on its balance sheet. So obviously, this is a marijuana company based in Canada, and they're moving in the right direction. So I've covered their past earnings reports. I think this company's moving in the right direction. But it's good to see that they are trading at a pretty steep discount on when you take a look at the price to book ratio. And then from a growth perspective, so we have revenue growth over the past 12 months of 6%. And then over the next 12 months, we're projected to have revenue growth of about 14%. So overall, decent growth numbers there. And then EBITDA growth for the next 12 months is projected to be 28% as well. So this company's growing at a pretty decent clip. And then profitability metrics look solid as well. So we have a gross profit margin of 23%. For those that don't know, gross profit is just revenue minus cost of goods sold. Tells you what a company makes for what it sells. So 23% is a decent number. And they have 25 cents in cash per share. But with that being said, where do these numbers rank in comparison to other marijuana stocks? Well, let's take a look. So we can see here that the balance sheet looks pretty solid. So we have about $464 million in cash, $560 million in debt. So we have $97 million more debt than cash. But when you compare that to the likes of Trulieve Cannabis, we can see that Trulieve has $192 million in cash. So they actually have $711 million more debt than cash. And really all the other peers have more debt than cash than Tilray does. So from a balance sheet perspective, this company's in a pretty good spot. Also, we can see, Canopy Growth is losing money every year, so they have a net operating cash flow of minus 376 million. Tilray is positive in terms of net operating cash flow, so that is good to see there. And then with that being said, let's compare the valuations of these stocks to each other. So right now we can see that the best price to book ratio is Tilray right now, better than all the peers. But on a valuation standpoint, from a PE standpoint, we're not super close to being profitable, unfortunately. So still a ways to go there. And we have peers such as Curaleaf and Green Thumb kind of outperforming Tilray in terms of valuation, as both of these companies are projected to be profitable within the next 3 years. And then from a growth metric standpoint, so Tilray actually ranks out as one of the better companies in terms of growth. So we have a 5-year compounded annual growth rate of 82%, which is better than Trulieve, better than Green Thumb, better than Canopy Growth, is worse than Curaleaf, though. So worth noting that there. And then from a profitability standpoint, our gross profit margins are kind of middle of the pack, so we're actually worse than Trulieve, and we actually are only beating Canopy Growth. So unfortunately, nothing too notable there. Profitability ranks out, unfortunately, one of the worst amongst the peers, so profitability is not great amongst the peers. And then with that being said, let's take a look at the chart and give a price prediction for this stock. So we're coming up to test this 50-day moving average once again, and we had rejected this 50-day moving average earlier this week on Wednesday. Looks like we have rejected it once again. I believe we come back down to test this descending trend line right around $1.50, $1.40. And this descending trend line has held, so we have a ton of touch points here. So we started this really in June of last year, touched it again in October of last year, in December of last year, touched it again in April and March of last year, and touched it again in November. So I believe we see, if this descending trend line is tested once again, I believe we see it hold likely around $1.50. So with that being said, I think the stock could find some support around this level. And then let's take a look at the seasonality trends. So over the past 4 years, December has unfortunately been the worst month in Tilray's history. Tax loss selling is a big part of that. So on average in December, shares dropped 22%. So unfortunately, I think we probably see a similar trend here for Tilray, and we see shares drop over this month. So that is my expectation for Tilray, is we see shares continue to drop, which would be consistent with the seasonal trends and what we're seeing, from the chart right now. So chart is implying that we see a move lower, and seasonal trends are implying that we see a move lower as well. Long term, I do think this stock could win in the long term. Personally, I do have some other favorites in the marijuana sector. I give my top marijuana stock in this video here, so I'll link it at the end of this video. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you here next time.